Hi, this is Tavi Greiner, Astronomy.FM's Vice President of Communications. If you enjoy our programming, please let us know with a donation to Astronomy.FM/donate. We really do rely on your support, and it's true, every little bit counts.
AFM.
Program complete. Enter when ready.
The curtain of night is drawn back. The telescopes are trained. The domes are open. The audience is set. Now, step into the event horizon.
Start.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the event horizon. That means Friday night here on Astronomy.FM radio. And this Friday night is May the 18th, 2018. At 9 o'clock in the evening for those of us here in the eastern portion of North America, also known universally as daylight savings time, 1 o'clock in the morning, May the 19th, Saturday morning, again, 2018. So that means we are live. My name is Marty Kunz with my co-host.
Good evening, it's me, Nick Evetts, 2 Romeo 0, Lima Uniform November. And if you're asking why I've got an R instead of an E or a W, it's because it's the run-up to the royal wedding. I have a notice of variation of my ham radio call sign. I can use the regional selection R. 3 weeks.
I was going to say that's a call sign, not a file number, right?
No, it is a call sign, not a file number.
Gotcha.
I am not number 6.
There you go.
Having said that, Marty, I have to admit, recently I just got The Prisoner on Blu-ray. I have to say this, Network, when they they did a brilliant restoration on it. It is crystal clear. It's 1080. It's 1080i. It is absolutely mind-blowing.
For those that are too young to remember, that was a British. The main character was
Canadian, paid by Canadian.
Was he Canadian? Okay. Well, then he retired, and then he got kidnapped and put into an island where he was
into a village.
The village was on an island, wasn't it?
No, the village is actually.
I thought he couldn't escape because there was water all around. Was the main part of it?
No, there's actually mountains in the background and forests. Because in the very first episode, Arrival, he's asking for a map, and it just has mountains with no names on it.
Or you could only get a map of the local town, and that was it.
That's right.
Nothing beyond it.
Beyond it, I wasn't allowed to know where he was.
Mm-hmm.
Thing is, though, most of it. I know this has nothing to do with astronomy, but what the heck?
Yeah. It's sci-fi-ish.
Science fiction. Well, yeah, it's science fiction-ish. It was. A lot of us feel that it was actually the sequel to Danger Man, John Drake, because we were never. The series was cancelled. Patrick McGowan wanted out. His way out was he pitched The Prisoner to Lou Grade, and Lou Grade at ITC, who also was responsible for Jerry Anderson's UFO and Space 1999. Said, fine, you give me something to fill the slot. So he did. It was called The Prisoner. And he actually appears in the writing credits under different names. But anyway, it was a case of really, we've pretty much decided that the Prisoner is the end of the line for Danger Man. He wanted out, and that's why he ended up in the village. The village, of course, is a picturesque place in mid-Wales. It's called Port Merion. Apparently McGowan was travelling for a break. He saw the place, he loved it, and he thought it would be the perfect setting for his series. So, as I say, it was good fun. It was full of inconsistencies. You would hear the chimes of Big Ben and everything. But
it's definitely 60 seconds.
Oh yes, almost definitely. In fact, I was watching an interview with McGowan, and somebody says, "I just want to thank you. Those balloon things gave me nightmares for half my life."
I know.
Well, they
were actually bizarre.
Yeah. Glenn is pointing out. Yeah, it was in Ice Station Zebra. threatening to do a nasty with a cigarette on Hudson's eyes or something, as I remember.
Mm-hmm.
But as I say, it was all good fun. It's rather nice to see that it's been restored. And we'll keep breaking up Rover. Okay.
We just asked our radio director. He says we got a clear. We got a clear broadcast. So might be something local, some storms or something like that. Might be getting to some people.
So anyway, before we go any further, let's say hello to Glenn, Cassie, Starstorm, Quiet in the Wood, Red Shirt Rob, Dave Browder, Black Jack, and Hola. I'm trying to.
Pretty close. It's pretty close.
Yes. So,
hi, everybody. Yeah, that's our chat room. Chris, we always invite people to come over to our chat room, which is live right now. So go to the homepage, Astronomy.FM. Look near the top where it says Radio Chat. Just click on that. You'll get to the login. Type in a name. Forget the password. Hit login, and you'll be here in our chat room. If you want to ask us questions, feel free to do so right in our chat room while we're talking live right now. So.
But as I say, it's one of those things that you never forget. Saying about things from the past, that kind of brings me to a story I picked up on via astronomical observations from New Zealand.
Okay.
Now, some scientists down in New Zealand have started a project. It's not just astronomy. It covers food. It covers everything. They're actually looking back and revitalizing Maori astronomy. They're looking at the astronomy that the Maoris, indigenous Maoris, had before the before Aotearoa was colonized by us British. And they're looking at. They also go into great detail about the star navigation that Polynesians used to cover the Pacific. But when you think about it, it's a huge empty ocean, really. And how do you make sure that you make landfall where you want to? Well, they used the night sky. They had a very good idea on what should be rising and where it should be in regards to your craft. Thank you, Starstorm. Yep, there's.
I had to fix the link.
Oh, you had to fix the link. Okay, thanks.
The ocean is a desert with its life underground. You know that?
Yeah, exactly. But what they did was they divided the area around the ship into houses.
Mm-hmm.
And they knew that when certain stars and certain constellations were in a certain place against the ship, that allowed them to navigate accurately and make landfall where they wanted to. Now, the thing is, for a long time, the Polynesian night navigational skills weren't really used. But in Hawaii, one person did actually do a lot of research in the archives there, and they found out how to do it. So, and then of course they did. There was a trip to Rotorua with with traditional ships, and obviously they must have had a GPS on board as well, but they used the old-fashioned skills of navigation, making sun sites and star sites and comparing them to tables. With the Polynesians and the Maoris, it was literally knowing where a star or a constellation like the Pleiades. Okay, let me just go back here because I'm going to pull up the name for you. And I do apologize to any listening Maoris if I really, really mangle this. So, because it is really, really fascinating what they're doing. They use their astronomical knowledge. They used it to plant crops. They used the phases of the moon. Oh, but I'm being told to look back into the chat room.
I'm looking in the chat room.
Yeah, Starstorm's put a link from Sea Sky or Constellations. For this month. Thank you. What they did was they utilized the navigational skills, the navigational astronomy, literally as a way of life. And that is always fascinating. And there is a team of academics who are actually going through the material that was saved in writing both by Maoris and by ethnographers amongst the colonists, who actually preserve some of this stuff as much as they can. And as one of the people said, you may go through a whole microfilm and suddenly you'll get 5 or 6 pages, which is a total treasure trove, because it's talking about the old ways, it's talking about the old techniques. And to be honest, I know that as of 2 years ago, the U.S. Navy College brought back using a sextant. The Royal Navy has never ever done away with it. Yes, the Royal Navy has GPS and inertial guidance, but the cadets have always been trained to use a sextant, because at the end of the day, if someone takes out or shuts down the satellites, you're lost, unless you can shoot the sun and you know where you can look at your tables and you can work out exactly where you are. So it is really good that these old skills are being recovered, and they're being taught to the kids. The school kids in New Zealand are learning about this fascinating stuff, about the old skills, the old ways. And personally, I think that is perhaps the greatest thing ever, is that this is being made available to them. Mm-hmm. But most adults my age, and certainly I would say in their late 20s, early 30s, they wouldn't have had this available to them in school. There wouldn't have been anybody able to go in and teach how the Maoris used astronomy. And they had some pretty good notion. They had a pretty good idea on how the universe worked. They're kind of like India and the Hindus. They had a very accurate concept of how the cosmos worked. And if you read some of the Sanskrit writings that are still left from the early periods, they knew about the big. They talked about what we call the Big Bang. They talked about cosmology. It is like they had a lot of this stuff. A lot of the older civilizations were very, very up to date in their science. They were in advance in a lot of ways, and a lot of it's been lost, but a lot of it is now being recovered. And as an astronomer, I'm going to be the first person to say this is absolutely brilliant. It's feeding into what we call modern science, Western science, and in some ways it is very, very compatible. That maybe India and Arotorea actually had what we call modern knowledge already. A lot of people, even the Egyptians, practiced very accurate astronomy. They used the rising of Sirius to predict the flooding of the Nile.
They kept records of how far it came up.
Exactly. They kept records of how it flooded, when it flooded, and they were able to predict the cycles. And to be honest, yeah, we all have our ancestors. And the fact that so much of this has been lost is terrible. But the fact that there are people out there now today who are professional astronomers, professional cosmologists, who are going back to the old teachings from the old ways, and they're able to bring it to life and suddenly find how relevant it is to modern science. I think that is absolutely bloody wicked, as Ron Weasley would say. But as I say, getting the word out is the hardest thing, because I have to say this, we are so stuck in a rut. Unless it's done the way we are taught in school, it's ignored, because we have to do it this way, that way, and the other. Yes, Optronics is saying about it contradicts common migration theories from the Bering Strait. Yes, it does. Yes, Glenn, I am a limey. Deal with it, mate.
And they put links, NASA,
Yeah, NASA, the ESA links, and SpaceX are all put in there. Thank you, Starstorm, much appreciated. But as I say, this stuff is coming back. we are going through the old Chinese records, the Japanese records, and we're finding predictions for comets. We're finding very accurate records of eclipses. I'm just trying to
Some of it's just and supposition is just coincidence too. You know, like some culture came up with a similar idea to the Big Bang. Well, that's more of a coincidence than accurate science.
But the thing was, a lot of these cases, these people were recording it in an accurate manner.
Yes,
that we can use we modern scientists can look back and say, wow, this in some cases this is just as good as the records we keep, if not better, because people were bothered to put it down, to use pen and ink, or to use whatever tools they had and recording materials to keep the knowledge available instead of just letting it die when the person moves on to the next plane. It was there. It was left behind. It was there to be built on. Science builds on is something that builds on itself. Everybody who does, most people who are professional scientists, they are building on the shoulders of those who came before them. Einstein built on the shoulders of the people before him, as did Feynman, as did Fermi. Is that because that you have that knowledge base there, you're given a chance to acquire an advantage. So when you come to do your theoretical work, you have the previous generations' observations, you have what they, so you can look at what they've done and you can perhaps say, well, okay, slightly wrong, but if you do it this way, this works. That is what science is all about. It's building on a knowledge base from the previous work, and of course, making sure you give credit where credit is due. Otherwise, it's plagiarism.
Or research.
Yeah.
The old joke is when you copy somebody else's work, it's called research. When you copy by people's work, then it's plagiarism or something like that.
Well, as Optronics is pointing out, and about atomic structures, you think of a Big Bang theory without telescopes and mathematics. A lot of what Einstein did, he never used a telescope. They were thought experiments.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yes, it was mathematics. He would have a blackboard and stuff, but he sat down and he did his thought experiments. And even the Greeks were talking about atoms.
Mm-hmm.
And we were the people, we were the ones who proved that they were right.
Mm-hmm. But not that the atom is the smallest possible thing.
No, exactly. But because
that was the smallest limit for that time, though.
It was the smallest limit for that time was the atom. Mm-hmm. We went further. We went down into neutrons, to protons, to gluons, and to quarks. Yep. Quarks, up quarks, down quarks, beauty quarks,
mm-hmm.
left, right, center, charm, and the Higgs boson.
Mm-hmm.
The thing is, it was all built on previous knowledge, and at the end of the day, when you look back, the knowledge, the ideas were there, even if they're perhaps not expressed in the language of Western science. And I also want to welcome Reg3 into chat. Nice to see you there, my friend. We have a culture. Everybody has a cultural connection. You're right in Quiet in the Wood. And it runs deep. What is the connection the Aborigine and the Maori have is different to the connection that I have. The Japanese have is different to what I have. And I think that is the whole beauty of the thing. That everyone has very different connections, but as a whole, they make us richer. I call the Seven Sisters the Pleiades. The Japanese call them Subaru. In fact, if you notice, the logo of the car is a representation of the constellation.
Yep. No, not the constellation, the asterism.
Asterism. constellation.
Yes.
Yeah, Astra is.
The asterism is the
okay.
Pleiades. Constellation is Taurus, the bull.
Yeah, correct. Thank you. But the thing, you get the point. Basically,
Yes.
we build on everybody else's knowledge, and when you bring the culture into your science, at the end of the day, it totally enriches you. Now, Black Projects has also told us that we're getting. Hey, this is brilliant. We're getting 2 Sky at Nights this month. Okay, so we've had the Gaia show.
First,
already.
explain what Sky at Night is.
Okay, if you're in the UK, everybody knows Sir Patrick Moore. He had the longest running television show going. It's called The Sky at Night. It started in 1957 and it's still running today in 2018. It started as being they said, okay, let's see what the reaction is. And of course, this was the time of Sputnik, and of course, they needed something was needed in the Republic, and this is where the Sky at Night came from. It started off discussing things like Sputnik. It gave you a very good basic idea of astronomy, and it helped you learn. Now you got Fred Hawkemer over here, and there's a couple of other channels which do it. Which do video shows on YouTube. I think most people have heard of Fred, isn't that right, Marty?
Maybe.
On the fence as always, Marty. But the thing is...
At least I didn't say who.
Yes, this is true. Doctor Who? But anyway, the thing is, it went from being a minority show to becoming pretty much mainstream.
How long is the show?
It's about 30 minutes.
Oh, 30 minutes, okay.
So once a month, you get a 30-minute show about astronomy. It covers the current topics. And to be honest, Patrick has covered everything from solar eclipses, Apollo moon landings, probes to Venus, to Mars, the Voyager probes. So what's happening is Godson Chris is going to the archive in Gaia's. It's coming out the 17th of May, I believe. Now, a lot of this stuff is already out on YouTube. I have seen quite a few of the old shows with Dr. Gary Hunt, talking about the Voyagers.
Now that's a video show, right? The Sky at Night?
It started off actually being live.
Well, yes, but I mean, it's not just an audio show, but it's audio visual. It's
audio visual. It's on television.
Got it.
Okay, so it started off as a live show. Then they started recording it to work around Patrick being on assignment.
Mm-hmm.
And he went to some interesting. He was allowed into communist Russia for some of the eclipses.
Mm-hmm.
Because as far as the Russians were concerned, particularly with his lunar mapping he had done and some of his sketches, his drawings of the other planets, he was a safe person to let into the country. He wasn't considered a security risk.
Mm-hmm. Now,
in the RAF, he was a navigator during the Second World War. So I guess he would have learned. He started learning about astronomy at school, and he would have certainly used astronomy for navigation, particularly when you're flying at night. The RAF always decided we were going to bomb at night and let the Americans bomb during the day.
Slightly before GPS.
Well before GPS. We're talking like 1940 onwards.
Mm-hmm.
As I say, so yeah, you were literally using you had charts, you had aviation charts. You would have quite likely had a sextant because you would shoot stars, and you had to know where you were in relation to the night sky. So as I say, the fact that the Royal Navy has always taught celestial navigation, the US Navy is bringing it back, particularly since they found out how vulnerable GPS really is. It only takes one satellite detonated near your GPS satellites, and you can forget it. You haven't got anything.
Mm-hmm.
So
the secret backup satellite. don't know about that.
Well, Europe is currently deploying a GPS system called Galileo.
Okay.
Now, Galileo is like any other system. It's overrun financially. It's late. Gee, doesn't that sound like the web? And of course, there's always the infighting amongst the people who are actually building it. But the whole thing is, even today, with modern navigational techniques, you still need to know how to navigate. You need to know how to navigate using the sun.
Mm-hmm.
Because you either shoot the sun at a set time of the day and compare it, and you compare the angle of the sun in the sky to what your chart is, and that tells you where you are. It's all sines and cosines.
I don't really think people are doing much old sound anymore. I mean, we've had a tall ship festival here, and I talked to some of the young sailors, and asked them about if they have to learn navigation. They go, no, we just use GPS, and that's the wooden sailing ship.
Well, the thing is, the Coast Guard, the U.S. Coast Guard, teaches celestial navigation.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't know that. Is one of my radio amateur friends here. He does his part-time service as a coastie, and he said they have a large number of the local sailing community who actually are required, if they're going to go blue water, they're required to be able to know how to use a sextant. And when you think about it, a sextant is still as cheap as a decent, halfway decent GPS.
I think sextant, does it give you more than latitude? I don't know if you can do longitude with the sextant, though.
Basically, I think you just use the series of times and angles and charts. Let me just pull this up, sextant.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had the radio beacon navigation, but because Red Shirt 3 is talking about it, but it wasn't totally dependable because we met with German's beacons. Latitude only. Thank you, Rob.
Yep, that's what I thought.
Yeah. Now, the other thing is, though, we would mess with the German radio navigation beacons, so they would go and bomb an empty area of the North Sea when they think they were bombing Norwich, Ely, or London, and they did it exactly to us. So, yeah, you can follow the coast, but at night, and don't forget, in wartime, you've got a blackout.
Mm-hmm. So
you've got no light. So you really have to, in that case, if you're going to do it that way, you have to be flying low. Now, Red Shirt 3 says you can do longitude with a sextant and with star charts and an accurate clock.
Yeah, the clock is the key to longitude.
That was the whole point of the chase for longitude was also a chase for a clock that would remain accurate years away from a
unrolling ship.
And that can affect the clocks.
Yes.
That's why people like Horrocks et al. Made a small fortune from the king, because there were prizes offered for chronometers which were accurate, and which were accurate for long periods of time. Now,
I wanted to say about go back to a sextant again. Sextant basically is a device that you look through. It has an eyepiece, and it has some filters, so you can actually look at the sun, and it has some mirrors in it. So what you can do is you can actually superimpose the sun, the image of the sun, with the horizon. And once you superimpose the sun and the horizon, it kind of basically overlap the images. There's also like a protractor on it. So once you get both of them lined up, then you can look at the protractor, and it will read the altitude of the sun in degrees. And basically, you do it throughout the day so that you know that when you're measuring, you get the sun at its highest point. That tells you with the sextant, by using that protractor, then it tells you what your latitude is that way. So it's got a viewer, it's got mirrors for overlapping images, and it's got filters obviously you want to filter out the sun, but you don't want to filter out the horizon because it would be all black and you wouldn't see it. So that's the way a sextant works.
Okay, I'm going to put a brief thing. Okay, I don't see the geographic coordinate that specifies the east-west position on the Earth surface.
Mm-hmm.
So, let me just.
All right, you look for that. I will do a little station identification. You are listening to the Event Horizon here on Astronomy.FM radio. It is another Friday evening, and this one happens to be May the 18th, 2018, about 9:30 in the evening for those of us here in the eastern portion of North America. We're at daylight savings time, by the way, right now. Universal time would put it at about 1:30 in the morning, Saturday morning, May the 19th. So you're listening to us live right now, and we still have another half hour live programming. But don't forget, we've got more programming coming up after the Horizon. In fact, we'll repeat about 4 hours worth of programming for the next 24 hours. So if you might catch us on a repeat, and you might be listening to us live right now. So if you're listening to us live, come on over to the chat room. Go ahead, Nick.
And I'm going to say you can always go to the AFM website because we have our show notes up. Our links are up there.
Yeah, we try to put, if we're talking about specific articles or something like that, we'll put links in our chat room. And then if you're not listening to this live, we'll, like Nick said, we'll put them into our under our homepage. We'll put them into Facebook pages so that if you're listening to a repeat, you can, go reference those articles that we're actually talking about right now. And let's say hi to everybody in chat that's here. So we're here right now. We got you and me, of course. We got Glenn, Cassie, Starstorm, In the Quiet Wood, Redshirt Rich, Jay Browder, Optronics, Aquafew, Redshirt 3. Come on over to the chat room and get any questions, ask us or anybody else in chat room too.
Now, to let anybody who's on the East Coast Sunday morning, there
East
is
Coast of what?
The United States.
There you go.
Okay, there is an Antares launch from the Wallops facility.
There is.
Yeah, it's an 09. It's an OA9 launch out of Wallops. There's an update. This is I'm pulling up the story. Originally, it's supposed to have gone off Sunday morning, and it's now been rolled back to Monday morning at 8:39 Universal Time, which is 4:39 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time due to the weather. So I'll put a link into the chat room for that.
Yep. Cargo mission to the space station.
Yeah. Okay, so that's into the chat room.
Okay.
Now, good books that are coming out. Alan Stern has released his book about New Horizons. I'm just trying to get back to the link for that. Just 1 second. Okay. Oh, and by the way, if you are in upstate New York and you're getting really bad weather, you can blame me. The reason is I just bought a sky quality meter.
Oh, that tells you what your basically the darkness of the night sky is.
It tells you the darkness of the light sky. It tells you what your limiting magnitude is given for where you are.
So basically, now, you point up to the sky, and it gives you a reading, and then you kind of have to convert. I think there's a little bit of a conversion you have to do. It doesn't tell you what magnitude star are visible, right? It just tells you.
When I was looking at the image of the one I bought, the SQM I bought.
Okay.
Let me just change the links a second. By the way, the Alan Stern book is very, very good, and I highly recommend it. I've actually read an excerpt of it, and that's the whole point. Why am I getting an SQM meter? Well, I'm getting two. One is handheld for when I'm at star parties or camping somewhere nice and dark. The second one will stay at the observatory permanently linked to the internet. Some of the people who do software for astronomers have actually produced an online map showing how dark the local skies are and where. So that is always awesome. Now, where did I get? Oh, yes, SQM meters.
What does SQM stand for?
Sky Quality Meter.
There you go.
Okay, so let me I'm actually on the Unihedron page.
It'll tell you basically the sort of the darkness of the sky, but it won't tell you things like clarity or steadiness. For instance, if you're looking at planets and well, you almost don't need a sky quality meter for that, but it won't tell you how much turbulence is in the air if you want to look at planets, so that could be kind of disruptive. But you want to look for faint objects. It's quite useful for that. Sometimes the sky is actually, well, all the time the sky is generally brighter than the stars themselves of certain levels of brightness. Like if you're at a parking lot in a store, big store, has all those lights shining down on it, you might be able to see only the brightest stars, which are called first magnitude. And if you get a little away from that store, you might be able to see stars that are slightly dimmer, second magnitude. You'd be surprised how much you can not see of the sky when you're really underneath street lights. Of course, the best ones is when you can start to see the faintest stars possible with just your Ino telescope, and that's like 6 magnitude stars. So if you got skies that can see 6 magnitude, that's the kind where it's actually hard to see the ground because everything is so black.
Now, I put a link in that shows you this is actually the device I've got coming. Okay. This is the correct model. Now, according to the graphic, it shows you the actual magnitude you can see down to, given the conditions.
Okay.
So you press the start button and point it at the sky and wait, and it will tell you, and it gives you a very rough scale on the case as well. So 16 magnitude would be by a bright light or a full moon, and it goes down in the figure. Well, it goes up in magnitude because the higher the number,
the fainter the star.
Yeah. So anyway, it gives you an idea of magnitudes and arc seconds you can see down to. And yeah, it is right. When I get the new telescope, I have a little project planned. I'm trying to get a hold of one of our deep sky divas, so I can actually get some ideas, get some information on the Malancam. What I want to do eventually with this half-meter Dob is I want to be able to get it up and running and with a Malancam actually go live. So the idea Marty and I have been discussing, I think it was a couple of weeks back with Rob, is the fact that maybe one of these nights when I've got the telescope and I've got everything set up and I can get hold of a Malancam, we will actually try and do a show with live sky. Now, it's talk about something like, let's say there's a supernova in a galaxy, and have you outside pointing at that galaxy live while we talk about it. And the other thing is we can also go look at the moon. We can go crater chasing, real chasing, dome chasing. Oh, don't worry, Redshirt 3. You will be hearing exactly when and where we're going to do this. The first thing I got to do is get the scope is being built in October for me. So I may be over here still at the time, and we may be able to get it up and running over here. Obviously, where I am right now, I have light pollution, so we ain't going to be getting too faint on the fuzzies. However, if we can get it up and running and I can get the internet sorted out to do it, then we will definitely try to put on a live sky show from the event horizon. Who knows, Martin? Maybe it will interrupt space pirates.
There you go.
But the idea is, I've got another scope as well at the moment. But the thing is, unfortunately, I left a counterweight for my Newtonian in the UK, so it ain't gonna happen.
You can go to the sporting goods store and buy some barbell weights, and that should work just fine. The whole size is reasonable for the shaft, reasonably close.
Possibly.
Yes.
I don't remember what the exact weight is for the scope. I was packing in a hurry at the time.
Well, basically, if you take your scope and loosen it up on your mount, you can basically put, depending on the style scope, you can basically put the scope on a bathroom scale, and then basically counter with that. So,
yeah, I haven't got a big enough set of bathroom scales.
Don't need a big bathroom.
This is for a C10 go-to scope with a gem mount.
Okay.
You try and get that on bathroom scales, Marty.
No, you don't want the mount on the scale. You want the scope on the mount, and then just basically weigh one end of the scope by letting the mount rotate. So it's, basically it wants to rotate down towards the ground, but maybe you put a chair underneath your scope. So it's basically all the weight of the scope is on the chair, and then slip a bathroom scale under there. And that'll tell you approximately how much counterweight you need to go on the other side of the mount to balance that scope out. Or you can look it up too.
I like Red Shirt Rich's comment. Tell us when you do it, and we'll go live with you. That would be an awesome astronomy event to try and set up.
Yeah, we'll work that out.
Two telescopes, and doing the show. I think that's always been. I will be honest. That has always been my dream. I know AFM did a Messier marathon via our telescope. When was that? It was quite a while ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just getting messages from our production director yelling "awesome."
8 years ago.
8 years ago. So yeah, it would be really, really nice to do it. And you know what? Given the fact that maybe I can talk to some groups, maybe in South America or maybe in Southern Skies, I think that would be even better than if we had three. We could get three groups who were actually able to look at their scopes all live on the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, during the daytime for them, it might be solar observing, which is fine.
Mm-hmm.
That's just as good fun to have maybe somebody doing solar work and feeding into us.
Yes, we'll see how diligent you are about setting your scope up in the winter for doing a show, because that's the only time it's dark out when we have our show, even at 9 o'clock at night.
But the thing is, Marty, the greatest thing about having the scope in wintertime is I can be indoors.
Well,
I can run it from my PC, you see.
There you go.
That has always been part of the great plan, is the fact that I want to be able to sit in the comfort of my chair. And you know what? I'm really going to have to get a Captain Kirk chair for this.
There you go.
I really, really have to. And I can have my. I'm gonna. There's upgrades being planned for the computer.
Mm-hmm. What you do is you have to build a bridge of the Enterprise with your captain's chair in it. And you know how the bridge always has monitors, that big monitor in the front there? That's where you need to put your images, on the big monitor, and you can switch back and forth between you and the chair, or even a monitor behind you. So.
Well, actually, I might go and have a chat with James Crowley and see if I can borrow his Star Trek experience.
There you go.
Now, Glenn said he loves Southern Skies. Okay. Yes, I have been. I still image. I use various resources I have. So I'm going to put a couple of images of the last few weeks. So the first one I'm going to chuck into our chat is going to be M1 Pan-STARRS. It's luminous only, because I was having too much fun with the scope I was using, so I couldn't really be bothered to change. This was done on T11 from iTelescope. It's a plane wave CDX, about 10 inches roughly, and it's an f4.5. The focal length is 4.5, and it's got
ratio.
Focal ratio, yes, is 4.5. It's got an FLI detector on it, looking at 9.0 micrometer pixel size. Anyway, this was imaged out of Mayhill, New Mexico. So yeah, I do a lot of comets, and I'm not really into clusters, I'll be honest. But I've been playing around, and of course, I went down into the SSO, and I just thought I'm going to have some fun. So I went and imaged NGC 6188. Yeah, so yeah, I'm doing Southern Skies right now.
There you go.
Okay, so there's the image there. And I thought, well, I'm doing 6188. I've got to do the other part of that particular group. And this is actually... Slow down. Okay, so this is... I've lost my note. Oh, NGC 6193. It's in the constellation of Ara. Okay? The Ara. And this is actually from South America very easily. So there's the link for that. So yeah, I had a bit of fun there. Again, this time I'm using a Takahashi Sky 90 with that's 90mm aperture imager. Again, it's f4.6 this time with an S-Big camera. Now, 6193 is an open cluster, 27 stars in the constellation of Ara, and it's visible to the naked eye. And it's central. It's the center of the Ara OBI association, which comes over a square degree. The cluster is associated with and provides the energizing radiation for neighboring regions of the nebulosity NGC 6188. This is why I took these two pictures, because they're actually part of each other.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so, and of course, I'm under southern skies, and there's an old favorite there, and I'm just clicking back to get it. Where did it get to? I know I put it up there. Oh, here we go. Here's my old favorite. I'm just getting the link. And of course, I went for NGC 5129, Centralis A. Okay, so there's that one. These are all fairly recent, over the last 2 weeks. I was. It's midday in the US. It's the middle of the night, and there's no moon. Well, hey, I'm in heaven. Well, my own personal view of heaven, anyway. And of course, got to do a few more comments. So I went for 66p Detroit, which is a fairly regular periodic comet as well.
Well, all comets are regular.
Yes, some are more regular than others. Sorry. So yeah, there's that one. And like I say, I was having a lot of fun. Again, this was with I'm just looking at my notes, because I actually put all the telescope details at the bottom of the picture now. So this is a 430mm f6.8. Now, keep in mind, I will be doing images with a 0.5 meter f3.3, which is going to be wickedly fast. So I'm probably going to have to get a focal reducer or a flattener for it. But I shall talk to the people at Malankam, and I shall listen and take good advice.
Mm-hmm.
But as I say, that's my recent imaging flurries, and I do it in fits and bursts. If there's a comet out there I'm interested in, yeah. Do you want to come closer and say that, Starstorm?
Come to the dark side. We have imaging, cookies, and hot chocolate.
One of my favorite posts, which I do every now and again, particularly with new people. Let me see if I've actually got this over here. Ooh, this came straight out of Flickr. What I've actually started doing, because of the way Facebook treats images, I put everything on Flickr now, so you don't get the loss.
Okay, resolution.
Well, yeah, because it's not the original image you got. I'm just paging quickly through my Flickr, and there's a lot of stuff I did from home.
So with a little higher definition, that could be shown over the internet, then reduced down.
Here's a nice one. Don't think I've ever shared this one with you guys. Okay, and I went for M8, the Lagoon Nebula, a while back. There you go. But as I say, this is all being done with iTunes, and do go over there, do try them, because they have some really nice stuff. You can do one-shot comets, you can do one-shot fuzzies, galaxies, and other things. They do have they have a list of what's visible nightly. Just decide what you want to take a picture of. Click on it, it will start. And 20 minutes later, depending on what you're looking at, you can go to back to the FTP page, and you can download your picture. Mark it appropriately with what we're looking at, because otherwise some of us spend hours messing with Aladdin and trying to figure out what the heck you're looking at and took a picture of. And I swear some people actually don't deliberately mark up their pictures just to really wind people like me up.
Hey, I put something in our chat room here called Starlight Festival.
Cool.
It's coming up in 1 week, next weekend. Not this weekend, next weekend. It's at Yerkes Observatory, a little astronomy convention. Mostly free. If you want to get into the telescope area, though, you pay the usual entry at $9. If you want to do some observing later in the evening, I think that's about $10, something like that. But that's on a observe and the amount of people they can allow in. Observing, so get out there for that. Yeah, I might want to make sure the weather's good before you pay ahead of time and go some viewing. But I'm gonna try to get to that. It looks like about a 7-hour drive for me to go from Detroit area around through Chicago and a couple of hours north of Chicago. And I'm going to see if I can get there next weekend for Saturday for sure. I think it's Saturday and Sunday. I don't know if I'll do both days, but we'll see. Definitely want to shoot for Saturday. So I haven't been to an astronomy convention in kind of a while now. So, and this one, because Yerkes it's not closing, but it's just not going to be sponsored by University of Chicago anymore.
Basically, it's no longer being used for research.
Right, definitely not research. So they want to try to find ways of keeping it open for the public. So that's still in the plan. Still got to figure out how they can do that. But it should most likely not completely close. At least that's the plan. They want to keep it open for the general public.
Well, there was talk a long time ago of shutting the Lick Observatory in Manhattan in California, because the encroaching light pollution can't do cutting-edge research. That is a load of Feldergarb. Basically, Mount Hamilton turned around. Yes, they don't have as much subsidy from University of California anymore, but they found a way to get the funding they need on a regular basis to keep the observatory open and doing research, but to keep doing the star parties. I was back there in the 80s, 1985 roughly. I went up the mountain. I had a chance to have a look through the refractor they have there, which is an awesome instrument. I believe it's an Alvin Clark refractor. And they do have star parties, and they are very, very hot. And in fact, it's quite a hairy ride going up the mountain at night, because you're not allowed to use you can't use your headlights. Because by the time you get there, full dark, observations are starting, and anybody who's brought up amateur instruments for the car park are already in full swing, and they don't really want you turning around the corner and blaring your headlights right down their telescopes. It's getting more difficult because of daylight running lights now on cars, so it's actually difficult to shut your headlights off completely on modern cars. So, a little rough on astronomy groups having a star party. Well, it's a case of you tell everybody to be there before sunset. Yeah. Now, by the way, the festival I want to say is at starlightfestival.com. That's where you can look it up. So obviously we'll have that on our webpage, but for just listeners, starlightfestival.com. Now, I've been asked a question about how I'm doing. Am I tracking manually? No, I am not tracking manually. Basically, what I'm doing, I'm running the scope. The scope is being run in go-to mode. Red Shirt 3 is saying Yerkes is now scheduled to close completely this October, which I think is totally disgusting. But then again, no one ever consults me anyway. Well, we'll see. But hopefully it will stay open as an education centre, as a resource. Science museum, basically. Yeah, keep it going. If the local astronomers can keep turning up and putting on star parties, perhaps... more like if they can raise the funding for staff and utilities. Yeah. That's the main thing. That's the big thing. Are people out there willing to dip into their pockets and make this happen? I hope so. I'm trying to saying
I won't say the whole name, pizza place with a telescope decorated. No, let's not make it pizza something or somebody's pizza, Yerkes Observatory. Let's not do that, okay?
Well, okay, quiet in the woods saying, but comets drift. What's happening is the telescope is either tracking the comets or it's using reference stars. Now, I am a totally and utterly a nerd. Okay, I'm in the Sheldon class because I will actually have the system information open as I'm imaging. I want to see what's going on, and it tells me that it'll open the iris and image, then that closes, then they track. They're using reference stars, and they're actually all tracking the comet itself. Some of my pictures do have slight star trails in them. I don't care. I'm there to get an image of this comet. I'll share it with the watch groups on Facebook. I'm in about 3, 4. And of course with the group that does the Comet Watch show as well. The Facebook group is called Comet Watch. The show's called Comet Watch. Actually, the show was originally called Comet Tales. It was born out of Under British Skies. But as I say, the thing is, the telescope is using a tracking camera to reference certain agreed stars in the program, and that's how the whole thing is done. It's the geeky side, and I love it. I just really, really love watching the numbers and the information scrolling up every 30 seconds or so, or even every 20 seconds, to tell me where the telescope is pointing, and whether if it's guiding or if it's imaging.
Well, comets, there are a couple ways on comets. Yeah, like you said, you can either guide on the comet or guide on the stars. It really depends on how fast the comet is moving amongst the background stars. So if it's fairly close to the Earth, the comet, then the comet's going to move rather noticeably in your photograph compared to the background stars. It's fairly away comet, and you're not using really high magnification. You can guide on nearby stars without noticing the comet, becoming elongated in your image. So it depends on the comet and magnification and its distance, basically, and whether you need to guide on the comet or the star itself, a nearby star itself.
So basically, what's happening is you have a program like Argo Navis, or Stellarium, or Starry Nights, or Sky Commander. That is checking exactly where the telescope is pointing all the time. Sometimes it may just be imaging and saying, okay, I'm locked, I've got what I need, open up the iris, let's take photons. Then it may decide, okay, time to shut down, repoint the scope, check it's aligned correctly, re-image. So I'm doing about 300 seconds of imaging. Then the scope is checking where it is in regards to the comet and the guiding stars. Then it re-images again, and then I get to play with the FITS files, the flats and the darks and everything else, and generally have a really good time, because by that time I'm probably in my chair. I'm totally relaxed. I have a glass of wine beside me, or a glass of beer, or something. I'm just having fun.
Mm-hmm.
But that to me is the whole loveliness of the dark side. Come to the dark side. We have CCD's hot chocolate, dark digestive biscuits. Yeah.
Well, a couple minutes left. I looked up meteor showers. Nothing really much until like June. Beginning of June, we get any meteor showers from now on. So not too much for the next couple of weeks as far as meteor showers going. Of course, did you get to see Venus and the Moon towards the west a couple of days ago? It was pretty nice.
No, because I had clouds.
Oh, you had clouds all then?
I'm being punished. Don't forget, I bought astronomical equipment. I'm being punished.
And
the sky gods have decided, even if I buy radio equipment, because it's going to be in the warm room, it's technically astronomical equipment, I'm getting punished. I'm punishing everybody else around me in this area too.
Well, yeah, getting a new piece of astronomy equipment is kind of like the same thing as wearing a red shirt in Star Trek. Yeah. You're just doomed for disaster.
I'm in Command Gold, or I'm in Science Blues. However, there's only 2 people in red shirts that survive. Or
everybody wants to be the captain. No matter what.
Well, the fabulous times. Oh, as I promised I would say this. There are worlds out there where the sky is burning and the seas asleep, and where the rivers dream. People made of smoke and cities made of song. Somewhere there's danger, somewhere there's injustice, and somewhere else the tea's getting cold. Come on, Starstorm, we've got work to do. Transport a room. 3 to beam up. Energize.
We are the Sky at Night of radio. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
We hope that you've enjoyed this program from AFM Radio, the broadcast service of Astronomy.FM. This program has been released under Creative Commons license. Please contact us for details. You may find more of our AFM original programs on our website. It's really easy to find us. We are Astronomy.FM. You may also find us in the iTunes radio listings near the top of the News Talk section, and also as an iTunes podcast selection. We'd love to hear your comments. Please email us at radio@astronomy.fm. Thanks so much for being part of the voice of astronomy around the world and across the known universe. This is